Hi there, and welcome to Africa Beyond Borders. I'm your host, Soraya Mentor, and this is a show where we get to chat to amazing Africans who've traveled beyond their home. Today's guest, we have Ethan Ahlfeldt with us, who's a filmmaker. Hi, Ethan.
Hi there. You know that's not my surname.
Ahlfeldt?
Not that dad. It's Ahlfeldt. But it's a running joke. It's all right.
Ahlfeldt. You know, the
Yeah.
pronunciation is so. Okay, you know what? Ahlfeldt. Is it German?
It is German actually. Yeah.
That is so cool. It helps me get into our next session. Please tell me
Yeah.
where you're actually from, Ethan.
Me, I'm from South Africa. I was born in Joburg, and then when I was really young, I moved down to Port Elizabeth, where I grew up, and I'm currently here now.
That's very, very awesome. I'm actually curious to hear where did the German surname come from, and do you know more about it, culturally
Um,
speaking?
so it actually there's a little town in Germany, very similar to my surname. It's called Ahlfeldt. Very interesting pronunciation, Ahlfeldt, DT, yeah, end of the DT. And actually, from both my father's and mother's side, we're both from German descent, which is really really awesome.
Oh, that is so cool. Did you carry your German culture like in South Africa as well, as a family?
Not necessarily. So we're obviously from all walks of life. That's just where we see our descendants go, or where we see our lineage going.
Oh no, that's so, so, so
Yeah.
cool. Like, let's get into it then, Ethan. Where have you traveled to beyond home?
So last year, end of last year, actually, I took a trip over to Europe. It had actually been my dream for a long time, and I was supposed to go in 2020 in my gap year, but I wasn't able to because of COVID. I'd actually gotten my UK visa, and I had trouble getting my Schengen visa, which was a big challenge. So because of that, I actually went and studied, and I finished my first year of work as well in filmmaking. And I was able to save up to actually go over with the help of my uncle. And I stayed with my uncle in London. And then we went on a really awesome Euro tour. We started in Belgium, we went to Brussels. From there, we went to Paris, Berlin, and then we went to Prague, Vienna, and then ended off in Italy. And we traveled to Rome, Florence, Venice, and Milan. Really, really awesome trip. Learned a lot over there, experienced many different cultures, many different foods. It was really amazing. And yeah, it was just an incredible experience.
I think touring Europe in the first place sounds like an amazing experience. You mentioned so many countries, and I can't wait to tap into each of them. Just tell me, was going to London like your first time?
Yeah, so first thoughts of London, really incredible. I'd wanted to go for ages. It was really, really cold. I went in the winter. And so when I got there, I called a taxi and I went straight to my uncle's house and I said, okay, we're going to go for fish and chips now, just the classic. So we went and we went to this place called Poppy's. I think we went in Soho, which is like a really like hustle and bustle place in London. Um, and we got like this amazing fish and chips with curry sauce, which was amazing. It was really good.
Shifting gears now that you mentioned how basically your first few moments in London, how did you handle or when did you realize this was like, oh, this is different from home?
I mean, as I landed, I think the anticipation as you're flying up there, it's like it like creates excitement within you, and
Yes.
it was almost a feeling of um, like, oh my word, this is really happening. This is really incredible. Actually didn't get much sleep on the plane, but the adrenaline of being in a new place was really incredible. And so even though I had like 4 hours of sleep, I got there at I think about 7 o'clock in the morning, and then obviously I waited on the plane and went in. And yeah, I just remember being in that taxi and looking out of the window, waiting to get to my uncle's house, walking in and him serving me a beautiful cup of coffee by the fireplace. It was really, really amazing.
Oh, Ethan, I do know you're a coffee lover. I wanted to ask before I get into my next question, did you by chance have like a coffee tour on the side?
Oh, absolutely. The coffee over in Europe is very different to South Africa, where
Oh,
I'm from. I actually think South Africa's got really good coffee and food culture. if not even better than overseas. Um, but in London, there's amazing coffee places. But I found out around the rest of Europe, other than maybe Italy, the coffee isn't actually as good.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to take that note and probably go back to SA and have even more coffee. You should actually come to Namibia one day and try our coffee as well. I'd love to hear your perspective about it.
I'd love to.
But getting into it, I just wanted to find out, was there, well, since you traveled so long, was there a rhythm that you had just to keep yourself a bit close to home or something that you did that will just keep you grounded?
I wouldn't say there was anything that kept me close to home because I wanted to be out there. I wanted to be
Okay.
going and doing things. But before I actually left for the trip, so I'm a filmmaker at heart. I work in filmmaking, and I really do love photography. But what I did is before I went, I bought an old film camera on Facebook Marketplace, a Nikon F. So it's from kind of like the 1979 era, and I shot a whole trip on Europe on film, and so that really kept me grounded in filmmaking and actually capturing the world around me. And so I shot on all types of different film. I shot in black and white. I shot in Kodak Gold. Yeah, it was really an amazing experience just capturing Europe on film, because in Europe you've got that nostalgic view of it from the movies. You see the history in old film styles. It's not always modern. When you think of Europe, you think of ancient Rome, um, like how London used to be back in the day, World War II. Specifically, when you go to Germany, I know Germany, their history and their tourism is actually based in World War II and everything that happened there and the Holocaust and stuff. So when you go there, you see these amazing things. Um, Capturing it in film just gave it a different perspective.
I love how you tapped into how each place had its own history and how you use that as a filmmaker. I wanted to know when before you left, I'm sure you had this idea of okay, this is how I want to film. And then when you got there, did it change your perspective of shooting or the style that you shot in?
So, looking at going to Europe, I wanted to do a lot of street photography, inspired by people like Trevor Weisskopf, who's a New York-based photographer. He's very much in people's faces and stuff, which I didn't do because obviously, like being in a new place, you don't want to do that type of thing. I wanted to capture the space around me and really get that authentic look. And I don't think I had a specific view of how I wanted to capture it. I just knew that I wanted to capture it in my own way. I wanted to capture some people over there. Really difficult because if you're going up to a person, you've got a camera, like you can't really do that. So you have to be kind of subtle about it in terms of street photography and just the places like St. Paul's Cathedral in London. Beautiful place. Um, you got places like the Eiffel Tower, which really was amazing. I was able to go up on the Eiffel Tower and
Oh,
look
wow.
at the whole of Paris. Really beautiful. In the catacombs in Paris, amazing. Um, Rome and the Vatican City, really incredible place. So overwhelming the beauty over there. So I went in and I was like, I'm going to capture this, and I did. It was really amazing, and I've got so many beautiful memories and photos.
Ethan, I just think generally you're just so talented with your camera skills. I really just love the way you shoot. I'd love you to walk us through a day in one of your favorite cities that you've been to, and what was it like?
Yo, walking through a day, yes, there were so many things. That's kind of difficult to choose a specific day. Uh, I think let me take you through London because London is where I spend most of my time. I spent about um, I think 3 weeks in London, and then the rest of my time I spent traveling and just hopping from place to place. I think the most of the time I spent was 2 nights in one place, and I think that was Rome. But in London, I would wake up, I would make myself a beautiful cup of coffee at home, and my uncle would and I would plan to go somewhere. If it wasn't the theatre for watching a play, the plays are really incredible over there. We watched plays like Les Miserables, Oliver. I went to the Royal Albert Hall and watched the Christmas carols. Really incredible. So walking through a day, I'd get up, I'd look to see what I wanted to do. I'd have my camera on my side and put my gloves on. It was really cold. Make sure I've got this. Go and hop on the public transport. Incredible public transport over there, and it immerses you in the culture. London is a place that is super diverse. So you've got people from all walks of life. You'd go in there, get on the public transport, and go for a beautiful meal. My trip was based around food, around coffee, around seeing. So we would choose a place for breakfast, we would choose a place for lunch. We would go and we would just have an amazing time and end off either with an amazing dinner, seeing some of the sights like Big Ben or Buckingham Palace, and then end off either for dinner at an amazing place, either having Chinese or Indian food because that's really nice in London, or Korean fried chicken, or seeing an amazing play, as I said beforehand, which is a must in London.
Oh, you know, this sounds like an adventure. It just sounds so super, super fun. And I'm sure it's really hard to choose like one moment where you're like, wow, this is the
Mm.
best experience. I'd love to hear what connection do you think is similar between Europe and South Africa, if there is any?
Um, while I was there, I was missing home a bit, but I wasn't really making many connections. I know that there are a lot of South Africans based in London, but I didn't really meet. I met one actually at a climbing gym. There isn't much connection, but I think specifically because South Africa might also be influenced by Western culture. Uh, we experience like movies from the West, movies based and media based in London. So actually going there and seeing that is kind of fulfilling that dream that we've had of, oh my word, this is a new place. Going to Paris in South Africa, we dream and long of what the Eiffel Tower looks like, and going there, it's like, oh my word, this is so beautiful. This is so unique. It's fulfilling what we've seen on TV, on media, like what's out there in the beyond, and going there, it's actually real. It's actually there. So if I can make any comparison, it's that things are actually there, and taking the time to go and see those things, um, it's so worth it. It's really an incredible experience.
Ethan, I'm just so excited to hear more about this. But before we continue, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hi there, and welcome back to Africa Beyond Borders. I'm your host, Soraya Mentor, and here we get to chat to amazing Africans who've traveled beyond their homes. It's all about culture, big dreams, and how we carry our culture everywhere we go. Today's guest, we have Ethan, who we were talking about rather, his journey from South Africa to Europe, getting back into it. Ethan, I just want to hear how your adventures have really opened a new perspective about yourself.
Hello, everybody. So, how my adventures have opened a new perspective of myself. I think realizing that the world is actually it's big, but being there, it's not so big. Those things are reachable. Those things are there. I was able to do a lot of self searching and realize that you know there are different cultures to what I've experienced in my own life. There's different perspectives. There's different walks of life, and being there and capturing that on photography, through film, through just speaking to some people, like the people I've met, it opens up just a new perspective that there are different walks of life. There is different culture out there, and it's really just an incredible experience. It's not only just where us as individuals are staying in the perspective around us. There's so much more out there, and it's really incredible to look at.
That is just beautifully said. I do remember that you said you have traveled Europe as well. How have the cultures there differed from one another? So from London to Brussels to Italy, like what are some of the major things that you noticed?
So in London is it's a very diverse culture. So you've got people from all walks of life. You've got people from Russia. You've got people from Asia, Americans, Africans. Everybody. London is just a cesspool of culture, and it's rich as well. A lot of people say it's very different from the rest of the UK as well. It's almost like its own little country. Um, and then that differing from each and every other place. I was only in London in the UK, but I found that in Italy the culture is much more rich than everywhere else, in my personal opinion, from what I've experienced. I find that the Italians, they take a lot of pride in who they are in Italians, and through their food, through the way they speak, through their mannerisms, which is really incredible. I find that they take a lot of pride in who they are. And I think that's the most of what I actually experienced. The other places did have a rich culture, but I found that, as I said, I think previously in the interview, I know Berlin and Germany took a lot of the tourist and a lot of the culture was based in their history in World War II and looking back at what happened in that area, um, and making sure that we don't forget history. It's really important. So things like the Anne Frank Museum, Checkpoint Charlie, which was the point of crossing from the Berlin Wall between East and West Germany. That's a huge place over there. So the culture is ingrained over there in their past, and yeah, just looking back at history. So yeah, the culture is really rich in Europe and so different to Africa.
Jesse, that just sounds so, so cool. I just want to hear from you because you've been to like Germany and Italy, and I'm sure you met so many different people. Who is the most memorable out of meeting the people there?
So I think I'm a big football fan, and when I went over there, I'm a Liverpool fan. I made sure to go visit pubs and watch football games in the pubs. And thankfully, Liverpool was having an incredible season during football time, and we won the league. Amazing. So I remember being in London, and there was a pub that I visited regularly called Courtfield, and I went there and watched the Liverpool games over there. And I think just the not I think, but just the culture around football is so rich and so amazing. I remember being sitting in the pub, and my uncle had left to go do something. I was drinking some beautiful beer. It was called the beer was actually called Neck Oil, which sounds kind of weird, but it was really it was one of my favorite beers I had over there. And behind me were three Egyptians that had come from Egypt, and they were going to go watch football at Anfield. And we were all celebrating, and we got chatting and everything. It was really incredible. We bonded over Liverpool beating Spurs, which is really amazing, up the Reds. Also in Florence, I also watched a football game, which was really incredible. It's just amazing how being in a pub environment and supporting the same team brings people together. I met this guy from Bangladesh called Raja, and we followed each other on Instagram, and I see all his stories. Him and I and this couple from Manchester, we all were watching and drinking beer and being merry. It was really amazing. I also remember in Brussels, I went and watched a game, and I met two old guys, Hank and Mark, and they invited me for a beer, and we all got together and we just chatted about football, and watched the game. It was really an incredible experience. So being surrounded by something we have in common, such as football, bringing people together, and the football culture there is rich. It's really incredible, and the pub culture, it's amazing. That really I found brought me together with those people, and it's people that I'll never forget. It's just amazing experiences.
I'm so happy you met football lovers as well and you had amazing beer while at it. Is there something that you taught your new friends like Hank and Mike? Some new phrases from South Africa or something that you do that they don't do in their culture?
Not necessarily. I don't think so. So I think Hank was from the Netherlands, and Mark was from America. And Mark actually went and they both settled down in Brussels. But yeah, I don't think there was anything specific that I caught on. Um, but yeah, it was mostly surrounding just the football game and chatting like that. I know whenever Liverpool were doing something like wrong that Hank didn't like, he would like kind of swear the Netherlands accent. It was really funny. I wouldn't say it on this call because it's very definitely not appropriate. But that's one thing. He's like, we don't need this stuff. We don't need this stuff. We're playing right. I just remember that ringing in my head. It was really like just so suited in the moment. It was really amazing. But I don't think there's specific phrases or anything that I remember specifically in those moments.
No, that just sounds awesome. Awesome. If I meet a Hank or a Mike in Europe, I'll be like, ah, I know you.
Yeah,
But just getting into a bit more, is there a habit that you got from Europe that you're currently doing back home now?
I don't think there was much of a habit that I got. I think maybe shooting on film was one of them. I try to shoot my life experiences in film photography like I did Europe. But it definitely changed my perspective on life, and it made me rethink where I'm going and how I'm living. Do I want to go back there? Is there a possibility for a life me in Europe? It just gave me a different perspective and made me look at the world differently. So I wouldn't say there are specific habits that I picked up on, but it made me think of life differently. It made me think that there's a bigger world out there. There are different peoples, there are different cultures, the different walks of life. I need to be able to go and experience those things. It kind of like allows me to, expand my mind. I think maybe there is maybe a little habit. I started journaling over there a little bit, and over here I'm starting to journal a little bit more. So I think just capturing your experiences and realizing that South Africa is really an incredible country, specifically also compared to Europe. Our landscape's amazing. So coming down and even being there, I realized South Africa is a beautiful country, and we need to be able to be appreciative of what we have here as well.
That's just very beautiful to hear, and I love how you are able to come back home and appreciate its beauty even more. You know, now that you're back home, I just wanted to find out, you did mention about your visa process. What advice would you
Mm.
give to a new traveler who also hopes to go to Europe one day?
So the visa process was very long and a little bit strenuous. Going into the UK, it was a little bit of an easier process for me. My brother actually got denied access into the UK because he had just gotten out of school and he didn't have work. So me, as somebody who's had a job for about a year at that point, I had strong ties into South Africa. So I connected with somebody who actually sorted my visas for me. Obviously, you need to pay a little bit, but it really they do walk you through the whole process, tell you all the documents you need. The reason my brother got denied is because he was that they saw that he was actually that they thought he would go there and possibly stay there illegally and work, and that is because he just got out of school. He didn't have work. He didn't have any strong ties to South Africa. I did through work, and so my work actually sent through a letter confirming my employment, and it showed a bunch of my pay slips and everything. So all of that confirmed that I had strong ties in South Africa and I wasn't going there to stay. So that was mainly for the UK and for my Schengen visa. So the UK visa and the Schengen visa are very different. The Schengen visa is for the rest of Europe, and because the UK isn't, I don't think it's part of the European Union anymore. And so you have to get separate visas. But a Schengen visa allows you to travel to different countries. Schengen visa was much more difficult because you had to actually book your hotels before, you had to book your flights and train tickets before, and have all of that set out and sent. And so they could, the whoever you're booking through, I think we did it through Italy. We were able, they were able to like phone the hotels that we were at and say, okay, are these people going to be here? And they can confirm or deny. And it's just making sure that everything's set out so you're not able to go over there and like stay there illegally. So it's all of those processes. It's really complex. So get somebody to help you and make sure that when you are applying, you do have strong ties. Like I have work here, or I have a spouse who's here. So yeah, I think that is the best advice that I can give.